Welcome to this video about radial basis function networks. Actually, this video is just meant for my students who will have to do a lab with radial basis function networks. So probably if you want to know more about those networks, that's not the video you are looking for. Anyways, so first I want to explain the Gaussian function, because radial basis function networks often use Gaussian functions. So what's the Gaussian functions? It's defined mathematically in this way, where x here can be a vector. So that's just the exponential of that square distance between x and a center divided by some width, okay? And more precisely, a Gaussian is almost equal to 0 everywhere except in the neighborhood of the center Ci. Okay, Ci is the center of the Gaussian. Okay, and the value of sigma determines how large this neighborhood is. Okay, that's very simple to use. A radial basis function network then will be a collection of such Gaussian functions, and this will help you project your vector x into a different space, phi1, phi2, phi3, where phi1, 2, and 3 are different Gaussian functions. Okay, so here that's the case where x is just 1D. So here I have a 1D input space x, which is projected into a 3D output space, phi1 of x, phi2 of x, and phi3 of x, where phi1, phi2, and phi3 are just 3 Gaussian functions. Okay, now if x is two-dimensional, as is the case here, so x is defined by x1 and x2, okay, then you get your x here, and you have to imagine that those Gaussians are just projected into that plane, okay. So if you take that particular value x, you will get the value of phi1 here, the value of phi2 here, and the value of phi3 here. Okay, that's a simple example. Okay, but what you can see is that when x is two-dimensional, the output of each feature, this is still a number. That's the value of y here. Okay, so this is still 1D. So for an output space, for an input space which is 2D, the output space is still 3D, and whatever the dimension x, the output space will still be 3-dimensional. Okay, so now let's have a look at how you can code for those radial basis function networks. First, I have defined a class which is called Gaussians, okay, where the initialization does the following. First, you give it a number of features, so that's the number of Gaussians that you use. So here it's 3, so I will use Gaussians with 3 as parameter, and I will set my number of features with this parameter. Then I have to decide where are the centers of my Gaussian, and what I do is that I just get them evenly distributed in 0, 1. Okay, so I have the interval 0, 1, okay, and I have 3 features, so I will have my centers at 1/3, 2/3. No, sorry, that's not that. That's 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. Okay. And then I have to define a width constant which will define my sigma. So here I take 0.1 divided by number of features, so that my features, my Gaussians do overlap just a little, and this defines my sigma as a vector of number of NB features ones, okay, and then I multiply it by the width constant, so I get 1 sigma, 2 sigma, and 3 I get 3 times the same width constants defined here into a vector of 3 numbers. Okay, that's simple. And then to compute the output phi1, phi2, and phi3 of x that I have shown you here, I am using the phi output function. So it takes an x as parameter, okay, and this x can be either a single value or a vector. So if it's a single value, then it has no attribute len, so and I will then transform it into an array which has just that particular value, a numpy array. Okay, and if it's not a single value, then it's a vector, and then I will determine the dimension of this vector by taking the shape of the first dimension of the vector, okay? And then I will define matrices that will help me compute the values of phi output. So first I define my input matrix corresponding to x by multiplying x by a number of features times, okay? Then I define the matrix of the centers of each Gaussian by taking the initial centers and multiplying it by the number of dimensions of x and then transposing. Then I compute the width matrix by taking the sigma and again multiplying by the number of dimensions of x and transpose, okay? And finally my phi output is here. You can recognize the formula of the Gaussian function, so that's the exponential of the division of the square distance between the input matrix and the center matrix, and then you divide by the width matrix and you return this. And one point which is very important is that I decided that this phi output function returns a vertical vector, okay? Why did I do so and not rather define an horizontal vector phi1, phi2, phi3 of x? That's because I will be transposing many times, and there is a feature of Python which is not very nice, which is that if you transpose a vector in Python, horizontal vector in Python, nothing happens. So it's easier to take a vertical vector and to transpose it rather than to use an horizontal vector. Okay, so you will have to use a transpose each time you want a horizontal vector because the output of phi output is vertical. Okay. Now, how do you train a radial basis function network? There are two different perspectives. The simplest one is here. Okay. So the idea is that you use your vector of Gaussians, so your RBFN, to project from the input space x into the feature space phi of x. So you have phi1, phi2, phi3 in the case where you have 3 features here. And then once you have performed this projection into the feature space, then you perform the standard linear least square calculation in the projected space. And this is the standard formula for linear least square, where G is the gram matrix obtained from the phi output of x Python function. So it gives you phi1, phi2, phi3, and then for the rows and for the columns you have the different dimensions of x. Okay, so that's the easiest approach to code in Python. You just have to implement this calculation. That's just one line of Python. Okay. The other perspective is much more complicated. It consists in performing the whole calculation from scratch. So the idea is that if you want to use RBFN, you want to minimize the squared residual error exactly as when you are performing least square calculation. So how is this residual error defined? So that's the output y of your data points minus f of theta, where f of theta is your sum of Gaussian functions, so computed in x. Okay, so I want to minimize this error, which is the sum over the different data points of the distance between x and f theta squared. Okay. Then I want to get a local minimum of this error, so I want to minimize its gradient. To compute the gradient, I will use this standard formula. So because here I have something squared, so the gradient of the squared function is twice the function times the gradient. So if I apply it here, I have this. And since f theta is a vector of numbers, so that's my theta vector. Okay, that's my Gaussian function times a vector. If I compute the derivative of this, I just get that. Okay, so finally my gradient of my error function can be written this way. Okay, so that's just mathematical calculation. To get this gradient equal to 0, that's not v0 here, that should be 0. Sorry for the mistake. Okay, so I want to get the formula before equal to 0. I can reorganize this formula just by distributing this here and here. Okay, Then I can move the term of theta here and the term without theta here. So by setting this matrix equal to that and B equal to this, I get A times theta equals B, and so I will get my theta as B times the inverse of A, but A is not necessarily invertible, so my more general solution is obtained by using the pseudo-inverse sharp A obtained with that particular Python function, or using just theta equals the linalg.solve method that tells you what's the value of theta in that particular function. Okay, so that's the second perspective, and that's very easy to code in Python, but it's a little less short than the previous perspective. So now if you want to use this, so an RBFN will be defined by a vector theta that is initialized randomly. Okay, and then I will define my matrix, my inverse matrix, and my B vector. I will start them with zeros, and then in the code that you will have to write during your labs, you will have to compute those matrices A and B if you are using the second perspective. If not, then you don't need those lines. Okay, and I have defined two useful functions. One is called f, okay, and it tells you what's the value of the RBFN at a particular point if x. Okay, so that's very easy. I can give it a parameter theta, but if I don't, I just use self.theta, and the value of the function is just the product of phi output times theta with the correct transpose functions. Okay, and then I just return this value. Okay, here again, remind that I am using transpose because phi output is giving a vertical vector, and I want to have a horizontal vector multiplied by a vertical vector to get the value. Okay, and the second useful function is the feature. So that's just part of the f function, but where I am using just one Gaussian. Okay, so it gives me what is the output of the f function if I am just considering one Gaussian feature, the one which is of index idx, sorry. So I'm just using phi output of x, and I return phi of the index times self.theta of index. So this is just useful to plot the feature functions of my RBFN approximator. Okay, and that's it. Thank you for listening.